It's believing that people and humanity are inherently good.
Blake Lively's once untouchable reputation has come crashing down, all thanks to Justin Baldoni's shocking release of text messages for years. She was Hollywood's golden girl, admired for her elegance at red carpet events and her warm, approachable interviews. Fans couldn't get enough of her fashion choices and her on-screen charisma. Blake was the picture of grace and poise, a woman who seemed completely untouchable. But now, everything is in question. Justin's texts have turned the industry on its head, revealing a side of Blake that no one expected to see. Justin, the director and star of It Ends With Us, had always been the calm, empathetic one. His public image was built on community outreach, positivity, and kindness, a far cry from the drama that's now surrounding him. He wasn't known for stirring up personal conflict. So, when rumors first surfaced that Blake felt overshadowed by him, it shocked everyone. To make matters worse, she accused him of orchestrating a smear campaign against her, painting her as unpredictable and difficult on set. Who could have predicted this explosive turn of events? It's clear now that there's much more to the story than we ever realized. Some people initially gave Blake the benefit of the doubt, remembering just how cutthroat Hollywood can be behind closed doors. But as more and more shocking details surfaced, the story took a major turn. Screenshots and private messages reportedly shared by Justin's team with Blake's knowledge painted a very different picture. Instead of Justin trying to undermine her, it started to look like Blake might have been the one stirring up drama. Fans began to notice the shift in her interviews suddenly. They weren't about the film or her co-stars anymore. Instead, she seemed to veer every conversation toward her personal brand. What once might have been dismissed as harmless jokes now landed as uncomfortable, almost passive-aggressive jabs. Digging deeper into past interviews only fueled the fire. Fans spotted Blake rolling her eyes at co-stars, laughing unenthusiastically at their successes and constantly steering conversations back to herself. At first, these moments seemed minor, easy to overlook. But now, after the scandal broke, fans rewatched these old interviews with fresh eyes, and suddenly, what once seemed like innocent quirks took on a whole new, more troubling meaning. Blake, however, wasn't backing down. She hit back hard, doubling down on her claim that Justin's team was behind a smear campaign designed to tarnish her image. She continued to insist that any negative portrayal of her was nothing more than a manipulative tactic from behind the scenes.
But I was like just tracking him down, and then I finally got to read the script, and the script was a thriller. So that was a little confusing to me because he's like such a funny director.
Yeah.
And so I said, you know, what is this? Because the script is definitely like a twisting, turning, intense thriller. Is it a comedy or a thriller? And he said, yes. So then every day on set, I was like, is today a comedy or is it a thriller?
It's a good mix
and
of
it's
both.
like, yeah, it's like really kind of over the top and campy and trashy and fun and like, you know, kind of like my outfit, I guess.
Blake fired back, claiming that leaks about her so-called demands and mood swings were deliberately planted by people within Justin's circle to ruin her reputation. She even accused them of orchestrating a smear campaign, but when it came time to back up her claims, all she provided were selectively edited text messages and statements that conveniently left out key context. Emojis were mysteriously removed, timelines were scrambled, and entire lines of conversation were cut or rearranged. This selective approach raised eyebrows and quickly drew comparisons to other high-profile cases, where the original accuser's story crumbled under the weight of conflicting evidence. The drama didn't stop there. The real bombshell came when the focus shifted to the making of It Ends With Us. Those on set revealed that Blake aggressively pushed for more influence, way beyond her contractual duties. She reportedly campaigned for script rewrites and even tried to have a say in editing decisions, demanding final approval on how key scenes were cut. Justin, as the director and writer, was determined to keep creative control, but text messages shared by his team showed Blake pressuring him, even suggesting that she might withhold support for the film's promotional efforts if her demands weren't met. She even tried to dictate how the film's marketing would showcase her, and, in some cases, how her co-stars would be presented in interviews. The text messages Justin's legal team released this time in their full, unedited form revealed something truly jaw-dropping. Blake suggested that if she needed backup, she had a powerful support system at her disposal, including a list of celebrities like Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift. In fact, she even referred to them as her dragons, drawing a parallel to Cersei from Game of Thrones. The language was loaded, hinting at a much bigger, more intense strategy than simple negotiation. It almost sounded like she was ready to unleash a massive force if she felt cornered. Reactions to this revelation were mixed. Some argued that it was perfectly normal for a major star to want more control over the production process after all. It's common for top-tier actors to use their fame to ensure their voice is heard. But for many, the tone of her messages was unsettling. The references to dragons and the suggestion that she had an entire team of heavyweights at her command only fueled suspicions that she wasn't just negotiating, she was aiming to dominate. Things took an even darker turn when rumors surfaced suggesting that Blake may have tried to push Justin and his family into a less prominent area at the film's premiere, allegedly forcing them into a basement section just so she and Ryan could grab all the spotlight. This only added fuel to the fire of doubts about her approach to collaboration.
A lot of it's my real life clothes or my husband's clothes or my girlfriend Gigi's clothes. I was borrowing some.
Wait, that's kind of amazing. So you have something of Gigi's in the movie.
Yeah, it's like a wedding, like something old, something borrowed, something blue, something new.
Wait, which one? Now I want to think of the scene.
Oh, I'm wearing her stuff all over it.
Oh, really?
Tons of like Bodhi, which is with the suit now that I'm wearing is Bodhi. It was meant for my husband, but I borrowed it.
His suit?
It was meant for him to wear, but it's so pretty. Look at it. You guys are not getting it in the shot.
For many, this particular detail, if true, was a game changer. It spoke volumes about Blake's credibility, but then came the most damning blow to her entire narrative: text messages and stories from the set that completely contradicted everything she had publicly claimed. One of the most shocking discrepancies was an incident she described as a severe violation of her privacy. She claimed that Justin barged into her trailer at a vulnerable moment, painting the event as a shocking invasion that left her distressed and uncomfortable. But when Justin's team released the text records, it told a completely different story. Blake had actually invited him into her trailer, even using a playful tone in her messages. Justin hesitated multiple times, offering to reschedule if the timing wasn't right. The difference between Blake's sweeping accusations and the cold, hard evidence was undeniable, and it left people asking if this was so far off. What else might she be lying about? Then came another bombshell involving producer Jamie Heath. Blake had accused him of showing her deeply troubling footage under the guise of discussing a scene's emotional authenticity. But according to Jamie and other witnesses, the reality was much less sinister. He had simply shown her a personal video of his wife's childbirth, meant to illustrate the raw intensity of a potential birth scene in the film. Those who saw the original footage described it as heartfelt, not disturbing at all. But in Blake's version, she apparently twisted the context, turning a touching moment into something far more unsettling than it ever was. A clear pattern was beginning to emerge. Moments that, to others on the production team, seemed totally normal or even endearing were being twisted by Blake into something far more alarming. It was becoming harder to ignore the discrepancies between how things were and how she portrayed them. But it wasn't just about personal interactions. Creative clashes were now taking center stage. Justin, who had poured his heart into shaping the story, was fiercely protective of the film's core message. The novel it was based on had already built a massive fan base, thanks to its emotional depth, and Justin was determined to keep that essence intact. Meanwhile, Blake's messages leaked by Justin's team showed a clear push to shift the focus more toward her character's journey. At times, Blake allegedly even threatened to reduce her promotional efforts if she felt her input was being overlooked. The tension reached its peak during the film's premiere, where the seating arrangement itself seemed to be a symbol of the behind-the-scenes drama. Typically, premieres are a celebration of the entire creative team, but Justin claimed he was essentially sidelined, all to make room for Blake to take center stage. This was a blow that only added fuel to the fire of the ongoing conflict.
And being frank, if it were not for women giving me direct feedback in my own personal life and being a man who was willing to at least listen to them, there's no chance that I would be having this conversation. So the message, to answer your question, the message is very simple. As men, we need to embrace all of the parts of us that make us human. That's it.
It is.
It's very simple.
Things only became more complicated when Blake alleged that Justin had made borderline disrespectful remarks about her physical well-being after childbirth. She suggested that he crossed the line with his questions. At first, the public reacted swiftly, then sympathetically, jumping to the conclusion that this was yet another instance of a male colleague stepping out of line. But Justin's team quickly shared text messages that told a completely different story. It turned out Justin's inquiries were actually focused on making sure he could safely perform certain scenes involving lifting and choreography. especially given his ongoing battle with chronic back pain. The messages, far from being disrespectful, reflected nothing but encouragement and support. This revelation completely flipped the narrative. Was there a misunderstanding? Or was Blake intentionally twisting Justin's intentions to create more drama? But Blake wasn't done. She then filed a legal complaint, accusing the production of failing to provide a proper coordinator for scenes requiring close physical interaction. She claimed to have felt uncomfortable during certain moments, including instances where Justin allegedly ad-libbed physical contact. Yet, things didn't add up. Interviews recorded earlier in the production, before her legal move, showed Blake actually praising the efforts to maintain personal boundaries on set. Behind-the-scenes video snippets further revealed a seemingly cordial relationship between her and Justin, with both discussing intimate scenes and choreography in a cooperative, professional manner. One video even captured her casually commenting that something smelled nice, which, in context, seemed more like a casual remark than anything inappropriate. This directly contradicted the dramatic nature of her legal claims. As more contradictions piled up, the more doubts crept into Blake's portrayal of the situation. In an industry where trust is everything, these newly revealed messages began to seriously question her version of events. Writers and producers who once saw her as a guaranteed buzz generator began to hesitate. They weren't outright condemning her, but they were definitely questioning whether working with her might lead to unexpected drama. What had once been a glowing reputation now looked deeply cracked and flawed. On the flip side, Justin found himself receiving an unexpected surge of sympathy. People who had never paid much attention to him before started viewing him as someone trying to stay calm, while caught in a whirlwind of controversy. While he never sought the spotlight for personal battles, the evidence he shared spoke volumes. Each time Blake made a new accusation, Justin's team seemed to come back with messages that either directly contradicted or at least complicated her side of the story. Audiences began to see him less as someone looking to take down a co-star, and more as a person simply trying to protect himself from accusations he felt were unfair.
She said, just read it, because I was looking for movies that could be commercial and speak to the human experience. And
were you reading romance novels?
And I had never read a romance novel.
Never?
And she said, just trust me, read it. So I read it, and by the end of the book, I couldn't even read the text on the page because I was crying so much. My wife was in bed next to me, and she's, I got snot coming out of my nose.
The controversy boiled down to one burning question: had Blake miscalculated in today's world, where technology allows nearly every message to be retrieved? The old days of controlling a narrative through selective quotes are long gone. When a celebrity's story doesn't line up with the evidence, their reputation can take a serious hit. The public's hunger for proof, whether it's screenshots, emails, or footage, has only grown. When the evidence consistently contradicts a celebrity's narrative, even the most carefully crafted image can come crumbling down. Veteran Hollywood insiders are left wondering what Blake's real goal was. If she aimed to avoid negative publicity, launching a full-on attack against Justin clearly backfired. Not only did it provoke his team to fire back with proof that poked holes in her accusations, but it also made her tactics look like a calculated move that missed the mark. It almost seemed like she'd overplayed her hand, especially by calling and her dragon so directly in an industry where perception is everything. Many felt uneasy about her using her powerful connections in such a bold manner. The idea of invoking dragons from her personal realm didn't sit well with those who value more cooperative, team-driven efforts. The legal proceedings continue, moving at a slow and steady pace, leaving both Blake and Justin in a state of limbo. If Blake chooses to step out of the spotlight, the public conversation may die down. But that silence could also suggest she lacks the proof to back up her allegations. On the other hand, if she decides to press forward, Justin's team is ready to counter with even more documents, text messages, and behind-the-scenes accounts that tell an entirely different story. The pressure is mounting, with analysts and media personalities calling for complete transparency. Figures like Megyn Kelly have even gone so far as to say they would support the release of all relevant documents so the public can judge for themselves who is telling the truth. This might not be the usual road for Hollywood drama, especially when such disputes could typically be smoothed over quietly. But it might be the only way to clear up the fog of speculation. The fallout for Blake is already tangible. Her once celebrated image has been overshadowed by questions about her reliability. Studios are treading carefully now, worried that more controversies could surface. Public opinion has shifted, with many now admitting that her public persona may not align with the carefully curated image she's built. Even her most loyal fans are starting to come to terms with the fact that the evidence, whether it's text records or eyewitness accounts, raises serious doubts about her side of the story. It's still possible that, underneath all the theatrics, Blake may have valid concerns, especially when it comes to the stress of her recent childbirth. But with the mounting evidence, it's hard to ignore the growing sense that something doesn't add up.
I mean, I internalized that as opportunity. We had such a responsibility to this audience to deliver something and to have the opportunity to deliver something for a passionate group of people.
Yes.
As someone who is so deeply passionate myself, I was so excited about that. I would so much rather have that than people who are indifferent.
Blasé.
Hollywood is a pressure cooker, where misunderstandings and frustrations can escalate in the blink of an eye. However, Blake's current strategy, casting normal events in an exaggerated light, seems to have backfired, damaging her credibility. In the process, with every new release of text and evidence from Justin's team, the gap between her statements and the documented facts widens, making it harder for people to offer her the unwavering support they once might have. On the flip side, Justin, who likely would prefer to focus on his work rather than getting caught in a public feud, is holding his ground. He's backing up his side with detailed logs, text exchanges, and testimonies from those involved in the film's production. There's a sense of confusion more than anything else on his part. He's not reveling in the attention, but instead seems stunned by the public's sudden fascination with him. While this newfound exposure could offer a boost to his career, it's also coming with a hefty price, stress, potential damage to his industry relationships, and the weight of defending himself in a growing spectacle. The shift in public opinion has been dramatic. Justin is no longer the sideline co-star Blake once depicted him as. In fact, he's now receiving more support than she likely expected. This entire ordeal is a stark reminder of how much the public landscape has shifted for celebrities. Decades ago, an actor like Blake might have easily controlled the narrative through carefully crafted interviews, selectively revealing just the right facts. But in today's digital age, no conversation stays private and no detail goes unnoticed. A single set of text messages can topple a carefully constructed story that might have once held up under exclusive magazine interviews or selective quotes. As the scandal unfolds, Hollywood watches, both intrigued and cautious, fully aware that the situation can happen to anyone in the limelight. What started as a promising collaboration based on a best-selling novel has now spiraled into a real-life drama that might overshadow the movie itself. This situation proves just how quickly a public dispute can take off when private messages and behind-the-scenes exchanges contradict the public narrative. Whether this will be a fleeting scandal or a pivotal moment in Blake's career depends on how both sides handle the fallout. But one thing is crystal clear: Justin Baldoni's release of text messages has completely upended the story Blake Lively once tried to manage, shifting the spotlight in ways no one could have predicted.